Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the March edition of Culture, Wellbeing, Tourism and Communications Wellbeing Committee. So we've got Hannah, myself and Richard here, and Pip and Tim on the screen. And we're also joined by Paul Whitaker, who's going to give us a little talk in a minute. But welcome, everybody. So I'm just going to try and get the agenda up. Because now your message has disappeared, Ian. No, got it. Oh, brilliant. There we are. Okay, so first of all, Ian, any apologies for absence?
Yes, we've got apologies from Councillors Parkin, Councillors O'Neill, Councillor Evans, and also Liz Fuller.
There we are, brilliant. Okay. And Councillor Evans, you said, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah,
Yes.
There we are. Thanks very much. Okay, any declarations of interest from anybody?
No.
I'll just declare a personal interest that I will know some of the artists that we're talking about. So I'll just say that. There we are. Okay, so minutes of the previous meeting. Would anybody like to propose they are a true record of what?
Chair, there's two sets actually. They're set from earlier this month and last month.
There's last month and the meeting 2 weeks ago as well.
Yeah.
So
I wasn't
you
here.
weren't here. I think you were here for one of them, weren't you?
No.
No, Tim? You're on mute. I think Pip was not
I was
at the
here
last.
last month from January
You were here for the February one.
for the February. Not
Was that the 2 weeks ago? When we were discussing bands? Were you here for that? Right. Would you like to propose that they are a true record?
yes.
And can I second that as chair? Yeah. And maybe we'll have to approve the other ones next month.
Okay, we haven't got anybody here.
No. I was at it, but nobody else was. Martin was, and Angela and Rian.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is just move the agenda around a bit so that we've got the Mumbles. Oh, it is there. Mumbles Traders update. Okay. So over to Paul for this. This is for your events, proposed events for next year.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I sent over a list of the events that, but basically we've got a list of events which we do annually. And from last year, we have had some support from MCC over the years, pretty much after when there was a re-election 5 or 6 years ago. But last year you gave us some money towards the events which we use, which were brilliant. And this year you've done the same again. So basically, we did send a list over to be circulated. I assume everybody got a copy, did they?
No, I'm just going to print this out now for everybody.
I sent it last week to about 6 people, but obviously.
It'd be helpful for the minutes to sort. Like,
Sorry?
It'd be helpful for the minutes to.
Oh yeah, I'll send it to you. Yeah, but the idea was, I think, from the meeting I had last week, is that I'd send it to you guys, and then it would get circulated to you, so we could look at it at the meeting. So anyway, I've got it because I sent it, didn't I? So here we go. I'll go through it anyway.
I'll just print off. It's coming now, Paul.
All right, you've got it. Yeah. Okay. Should I carry on that anyway?
Just give us 1 minute. If you could send it to Pip and Tim, that would be great. So that they've got, Tim.zoo. If you could just tell Paul your emails quickly.
If you send it to me, Paul,
I'll send it to you.
Ian's going to send it out to you now, to you too.
Right, it won't be the documents I sent over to Kerry. It'll just be like a copy and paste job here.
Okay.
Well, it's the same information, but it doesn't.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll take a picture of it and I'll put it on the WhatsApp group.
It's not as pretty. Oh, shit. So what's your email?
It's the Mumbles one is Ian.Hughes.
On what your Wi-Fi either, am I?
I'll get a copy. Have you got a copy there, Rob? I could have.
Yes,
I'll just send it myself quickly. I can send it out then.
I've put it on the WhatsApp group.
I'm not on that one, but this will be good for me.
Yes, you are.
That's lovely. Thank you.
So guys, you should have that coming through on the WhatsApp group now, the document from Paul. I'll do it again. I don't think it did work. It's come through now.
That's it. Thank you.
Continue.
Yeah.
Right, so I mean, obviously you all live in the area, so you're probably familiar with social needs. So again, I mean, it's like over the years, I mean, like people who do events, I mean, you'll know from the PA and Rob knows and stuff like that. The costs are just going up and up and up, and the council want us to, the city and county want more and more. Like they've just charged us £400 today for something that happened a year ago because they forgot to bill us. So if you can imagine, like some of these events are costing £2,000 or £3,000 minimum, whereas 8 years ago they were costing £600 or £700. And the other thing is as well is that we're very aware that we could become a victim of our own success because, for instance, with the Christmas event, we don't have portaloos, we have limited stewards, we don't use as much barrier as we should. It could be a point where in the future the council or the specialists or the events safety advisory group turn around and say that we need to have 10 portaloos, so the cost through. So the money that you give us that we split between the events, which you can see there, is like a massive help, especially with something like the food festival last year, which we cancelled because we were £2,000 into that when we cancelled that. But obviously that covered the costs, and then the surplus money that we'd allocated for that went over to Christmas. So the reason we've broken it down into these events is because when we were first told we were going to get the grant funding last year, I spoke to Paul Bannon, and I think it was Carrie at the time, and they just said, yeah, just invoice the traders can just invoice us for the money. So I said, well, I don't really want to just invoice you for the money you're giving us. I'd rather do it a little bit more structured. So that's why I sent over a breakdown of the event saying, look, this event will have £1,500. So you can see where it's all going. You know, the general public who are paying for it at the end of the day can see where it's all going. And it's easier for us to manage financially. So when I sent the breakdowns over to Kerry from last year, we literally did a report about, you know, what you benefited from with the social media and, you know, what press coverage we got for each event, and we put your information within the event and the logos and literature, and then each breakdown, if we said £1,000, we had a breakdown of £1,000 and copied receipts and invoices for that. So we all know where we are, you all know where you are, and the general public know that the money's being spent on something worthwhile. And the other thing we also do as well is the money's spent predominantly on community and peripheral stuff. So we don't spend, say, £700 booking a band. We spend it all on things like barriers, health and safety, stewarding, closing the road. So it's all things that without us using your money, we wouldn't be able to do the event. So as we go through the events, we've got obviously so we closed the road on the first time we closed it at the beginning of the summer holidays when the kids have all finished school. So we call it, you know, here comes the summer holidays. And, you know, depending on the weather, depending on what, so always moderately busy, if not very busy. So, you know, again, we're just doing what we do there. I mean, we're always open. What I was going to suggest is that this year, is that if I can put the event together to a certain extent and then send it over to you for when you have your meetings, So you've got it in front of you. So if it's an agenda punch, update on traders events, and then you can say, oh, what's this, and ask questions. I don't have to be here, but you can. But really, it would be good if you're funding us to a certain extent that we have a liaison from the council who, can maybe get involved a little bit more, or you come up with suggestions.
I think one thing, obviously, we're keen to work much closer together than we have done in the past. I mean, that I think everybody on the committee is, up for that. And maybe what you can do is come quarterly, like Paul Byland does. Especially like say you could come in June before the July event, so we know where we are and stuff like that. So you could maybe just come the months before. What does everybody think about that?
Because I think, it's little things like, obviously, you say don't reinvent the wheel, but we're sort of restricted to what we can do in the confines of the closed road and how long we've got. Because obviously we closed the road at 3 or 4, depending on the event. And then we've only got like 2 hours to set the whole thing up. So it's, well, some people will go, why don't we have a bigger stage? Why don't we do, well, we can't get a bigger stage. But little things, like for instance, like last year for the Christmas, we had the tuk-tuk, didn't we, in your guys? That was bloody brilliant. Like it was really added to the event. And it was something which come in at the last minute, really, wasn't it? I know that you've sent hours up to us before and stuff like that. But it's little things like that that I think that, maybe we're missing or we're not doing that could be done. Like the city and county councillors provided the dinosaur thing. Now that was great for the top shops. Now whether they'll be able to afford to do that this year or not, I don't know. But little things like that. So if we can just let you know what we're doing, well then we'll make better for us.
What about getting the schools more involved? Because you could have a couple of 100 elves. An elf parade.
Elf a site, wouldn't it?
Elf of a site.
That would be great. But have you tried getting the schools involved in it?
Yeah.
And I must have spoken to what I've found, and maybe I'm being a bit pessimistic here, but once the school want to do something, they'll hound you so their choir can come and sing. If it's the other way around, I'm hounding them. Sometimes, if they're not going to do it, you just cannot change it. And we've tried the come fancy dress covers hours. Like last year, I enlisted them all in the summer to come at Christmas. And most of the schools said no then, before they even knew what they were doing. They just said, look, it'll be too complicated at the time. So, last year we had quite a few people in fancy dress as well. But again, it's things like that, really, isn't it? Something that we can work together to sort of come with ideas.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Going back, you mentioned road closures. How much does it how much do the council bill you for road closures?
Well, what we get billed by highways, which is about 350 quid, and then we get billed by special events now, which never used to bill us. So I think to a certain extent, not that I want to be quoted, but it depends. They charged us £400 a day for something from last year. So by the time we've paid for the highways closure costs and we've paid for special events and we've got licenses, that part of it, before you've even put a fence up, is just over £1,000.
So highways 350, special events is it 50?
Well, no, they could charge 350. It might have gone up because we got charged £400 a day from the event last year when we closed the road.
Yeah.
But again, I know the costs for everybody are going up this year, but that will all happen at the beginning of April. So
when you say licenses, what licenses?
It's depending on whether we don't really need a temporary events notice because our entertainment is mostly unplugged. But in theory, if we've got because we've got less than 499 people in the central area, which we call as our yes. Well, we don't need to apply for a big license, but we'd have to apply, for instance, for the street traders.
Do they have their own licenses?
Some of them do, some of them don't.
Because with Mumfest, I know that everybody has to have their own licenses, otherwise we won't let them on the field.
Well, you've got a rate but some of them won't have a license to sell. They'll come under the event license.
Right.
Um,
Because that's a way you could maybe cut down the cost of the licenses just to have people.
recorded up, yeah.
Yes. No, all meetings are recorded. I mean, this is actually, people can log in and watch it, but nobody has. But what I'm saying is, you know, if to cut down cost, to give you more money to put on into bands and whatever, if you only use traders which have got licenses, then you don't need a license because they've all got their own. That's what where I'm
Yeah.
coming from.
And I say we do. What we do is we use traders and we send this to the trader standards and to health and safety. And then what they do with that list after they've got it and checked everybody is up to them.
Hmm.
And if we have to have a license, they send us the details. And if we don't have to have a license, they don't send us the details.
Hmm.
So it can vary because with the person who was running the licensing for food, who's now left, he would only allow us to get a license for 3 months. So if we have an event at the beginning, I'd say like the end of July, a license was £555 for 3 months.
It's run out by Christmas.
Well, no, he'd say the licensing period is from May, June and July. So you need to buy a license for July, but it'll run out 3 days after your event. You know what I mean, that sort of thing. But that doesn't happen at the moment. So that's what I was saying.
I mean, is there a way, do you think, asking you the question, because I don't know the answer, that you'd be able to get more clarity from city and council, the county, on the licensing to find out if you need one or not?
Yeah.
Maybe more in advance.
What I'd say is that this possibly isn't the situation to be discussing the licensing of the events. We're just here to discuss the events, really, aren't we? You know, we work for now.
Yeah,
And then any licensing issues and stuff like that, we could possibly discuss on another meeting or something, I don't know.
okay.
But as far as the events are concerned, yes, there's specifics. I mean, I can send you a list, it'd be easier of what it all costs to put an event on. Because as I say, Kerry's got a list of what we'd spend the money he gave us on. And in that is things like, health and safety, all that sort of stuff. And it varies depending on the event and what we've got to do, really. So, but yeah, I mean, you know, as you'll possibly find out with Mums Fest this year as well. I mean,
Everything's gone up.
all the costs to go.
I got a bag full of quotes here.
It's like, for instance, now, you know, like when we started doing our Christmas parade, I mean, there weren't really very many songs of a parochial sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, now, I mean, it seems to be that every combination in more than 4 hours is just doing a parade or something. Isn't it? So now it's a booking stages is now only possible.
The only reason I asked for the license is my only concern was that we may, as you pointed out, Alfred, we may be paying for licenses when it's unnecessary because those licenses may be covered by traders already. So it could be double billing, if you like.
Well, yeah, what it is, I mean, with there's numerous licenses we should apply or could apply for. We don't need to have the events notice because we don't do alcohol. And if anyone wants to do it, the only person who sells alcohol is normally the cider girl, and she sells it in bottled cider in containers to take away. It's not consumption. But what we get is because of the nature of the event being sort of community, we get people who come along who have got a rating of 4 or 5. So we try to be above 3 anyway. But they're possibly hobbyists with a rating to sell food at the local church fete. So once they go out into the street, they won't have their own license. I think a license is like 600 quid a year or something. So then we, in theory, would have our own license for that. But at this present moment in time, it's whether the council tell us to get a license.
I understand that. From a local point of view, I know that some people would bring up, okay, if they're a local business and we're providing them with a license, that's not so bad. But if they're coming from outside the area and we're paying for their license, then people are against that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think this has come up quite a lot actually with the events, is they should only really be using local traders
yeah.
rather than bringing in a lot of.
Who are the ones from outside we use them?
You know, you just said about people who don't have their license because they do the church hall or something like that. So I'd imagine that like all the shops like Chai and Vaughan's and not Vaughan's, Tuckers and all these sort of people will have their licenses. But but maybe that's a conversation for another time. That's something we can look into anyway.
Well, all these people, what we do is when we get a list of who's going to attend the event, food and drink wise, like you possibly do with your, we have to send it to Alice, who's the food hygiene person, and she goes through everybody and checks everything, licenses, hygiene, what area they're registered in. And predominantly all ours are registered in the Swansea area. I think we've got one from Carmarthen, one somewhere else. But then if there's any issues with them, she'll phone up. We had one year, last year, we had one guy who told us he was registered number 4, Leighton Hall, and he was in Swansea. And then she come back to me and said, no, we can't find them. So I phoned you up. He went, oh, well, we haven't. Anyway, so we cancelled him. So you do get the odd one, but if there was any license or any money to be spent, they would tell us what we need to spend. But yeah, I mean, again, this is the whole thing. You know, as I said, if people maybe they've got a better angle on what we could get food-wise, brilliant, crack on, because you know, if you know better people or people who can do it, that's brilliant. But what we've got to be wary of is that there's a difference between someone standing there going, oh, I can, if I make those burgers, he'll come and do that, and then actually getting them to come and do the burgers.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because what the people we've got who we use at the moment, we've got, say, 8 standard suppliers, and they've been coming since the year dot, and they're reliable. And that's the other thing to see. I mean, when we were, bearing in mind that this funding you've given us is great, but it may not be here next year. Yeah. So we need the people who are willing to pay to be there, which undoubtedly and unfortunately are the bigger vans who will spend a lot more money to be there to pay.
But those bigger vans are more likely to have their own license because they do lots of this sort of stuff.
It's the small rules.
And personally, I'm not against people from outside coming in and offering something different to the community, like, well, you know, we can have whatever from wherever every day of the week, but this is something new we could try. But we're not paying for their licenses. That's the difference.
And, you don't really. I mean, anyone, if they come from outside the area, which very rarely there's people from outside of Swansea, they're coming because they do it as a profession.
They do professionals, yeah. Just, they do festivals.
But you'd be surprised the people who haven't got, because the traders, if they do all the markets, in theory, they should have a year license anyway. But it's surprising a couple of them that haven't. But the license itself, in comparison to the whole of the event, is minuscule. Yeah. I mean, the most we've ever been charged for a food-related trading license, I think, was 285 quid, because we whittled it down a bit because they tried to charge us for 3 months, and we said, well, we're only using it once. And then 1 year, then we managed to get them to have the 3 months from July to September. Was it July? So, yeah, so that took in the 3 events, well, 2 events we were doing. So, yeah, so, yeah, if anyone who wants to get involved, you want to do is happy by me. It means I get less.
Well, look, I mean, you know, we've all got this in front of us now with Paul's planned events now for the rest of the year. The one that's not on here is the retro.
Well, we don't do that through your support.
There we are, absolutely fine.
Because the thing is, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, I know it sounds a bit not ungrateful, but what you're giving us is great. But if we spread it over 5 or 6, 7 events, we're not good. So anything that has got a chance of making its own way, we'll just let it make its own way. And again, I mean, the idea would be is that with these, if you say, for instance, from your experience in the P&O, 4 or 5 local food vendors who'd come along and pay to be here and maybe are reliable, well, then that's good for us, because if we haven't got funding next year, we've got people local we can rely on to put money into the pot. Because again, I mean, although I wouldn't turn my nose up or we wouldn't have a grant, if the grants should reduce some of these events like Christmas, it'd be nice to know that it was going without a grant. Because otherwise it's reliant on a grant, and if the grant finishes, the event finishes, doesn't it?
But it's also up to you to decide which of the important events
Well,
that
this
you
is
want
why
to
we've
put on.
said, you know,
Yeah.
we're not involved the ones that we think are going to fight and chat some stuff anyway. So, but yeah, I mean, so again, I mean, what's probably best if I can put a bit of, I mean, would it be worth my while sending you an email and then you can all give me, I mean,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Welcome, really, because it's worth, because we can go back in this early stage,
Yeah.
go back and go, you know, okay, we won't do that, we will do that. Somebody said they might be able to do that, and just get involved and see what happens.
That's what a committee is for, is to bounce around ideas and for us all to input in. So yeah, happy. I mean, look, we're going to have to crack on. We've got a long agenda, but I'm just want, before we finish with Paul, does anybody have any questions for him that they'd like to ask while he's here? Pip?
Well, it's just with regards to the license. I suppose public liability insurance would be the other thing that would come under that license, would it? Or
Well, we've got public liability anyway for the year, so that covers all our events, everything. So
you've got that for all the trainers, yeah. Okay.
yeah. So we have to. So for instance, on our public liability, we have to state what events we're going to do. We can't just say, "Hey, we've got public liability." So on our certificates, it'll have a list, which I think Kerry's got a copy of. It'll have a list of things like classic car shows, food festivals. So it's all good on there. Because you've got to have that anyway to exist.
Okay. Anybody else want to ask Paul anything or comment on anything? Brilliant. Thanks, Paul. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. The only quick thing I'd say is that I thought I mentioned in the meeting the other day about D-Day.
Yeah.
Michael Eames is doing something, but he said he's already spoken to Claire about it.
Right, but Claire's off
Yeah,
this week and last week.
So what I was going to suggest is that Mike's, you know what it's like. I said to him that me, him and Claire will get together, and then Claire can then report to you what's going on. That's fine. And then come back and do it that way, because I said there's no money.
If when you meet, I'm free, I'll come along as well then as well. But great.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Paul.
And again, like, you know, I mean, it's, you know, 7 or 8 years ago, we couldn't even get to meet the community council. So now to be getting into the events, and at the end of the day, it benefits the community massively.
Absolutely.
So,
what were you going?
It's a tourist area.
Where can they stay?
Right. Cheers. Stay warm.
Oh, it's not yesterday.
I went to hospitals and it was peeing down. I came out and I put my sunglasses on. You know,
Crazy.
it is crazy. Okay, right.
Cheers.
Cheers, Paul. Thanks a lot. Okay, so next thing on the agenda is update on the action points from previous meetings. So over to Ian for that.
It's short one.
Marvellous.
There is one for Christmas trees. Can I leave that because Kerry's not here?
Yes, that's fine.
The only one I believe being postponed to later is actually thinking aloud. There's an action for key councillors to meet with Paul Whittaker. So I think we can show some use the agenda.
Yeah,
That's the action.
yeah, brilliant. Marvellous. Lovely. So budget monitoring report from the 31st of, or to the 31st of the 1st, 2024. Have you all seen the report on that? Have you all been sent it?
It's on Teams. I sent the link out, Chair.
Yeah.
And in line with the policy now, what we're asking is that, just reminding people for the first month or so, if we can have advance notice of any queries to Paul, with myself and Kerry copied in, just because obviously Paul's only going to be at every third meeting, and it then allows the opportunity for myself or Kerry to give more of an informed answer to everybody.
There we are.
I haven't received any questions or queries from it.
No. Anybody online? Anything? No, and Hannah?
This is reported, yeah?
That's it, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Ines.
Okay, Mumbles Fest.
So, which, are you happy to accept the?
Oh, happy to accept, yes, are we all happy to accept?
Yeah.
Brilliant. So, number 7, Mumbles Fest. So, if I can maybe move that to the Mumbles Fest booking recommendations first, because I don't think we need to go into a closed session for that, Ian. These are quotes from Claire.
Okay.
So I met with Claire before she went on her holidays, and she's given me the 3 quotes for everything that we need. Now, obviously, there are some we've used before, and having built up a relationship with some of these suppliers for infrastructure, Claire is keen to keep with those if possible.
Yeah.
Everything has gone up. Security has gone up, the marquees have gone up, the loos have gone up. But let me go through it. If we can take one at a time. Total Sound are available, and they have given us a quote of 4,000. Oh, do I need to do this in closed, or what would you think?
I don't see where it needs to be if we're going to recommend. Are we recommending them for?
These are recommendations.
Yeah, I don't see why we should. It's not politically. It's not sensitive information, is it? Really?
Okay. Okay, if we can go with the quote received from Total Sound and vote on that, it's £4,237.60. That's for building the stage, doing the sound and lighting for the whole event, which includes an engineer walking around with an iPad, doing the live sound for what's going on stage. So what I'm proposing is, when we vote on these things, what we're doing is we're giving Claire the authorization to book. Okay? And then Paul will obviously deal with the money side of things, but Claire will do the booking with these people. Okay?
Yeah.
So first of all, are we all happy to accept that one?
Yeah.
That's a nod, is it, Tim? Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so Total Sound is a recommendation.
Yeah.
The next thing is commercial. Sorry, that is last year's price. Let me find this. Hang on, because I've got it all here. That's the action point, security, Chris Mabbutt, the first post commission. Waterloo's stage, sorry. So this is sorry, just give me Total Sound. I'm looking for the final. Right. So it has gone up quite a bit. Last year it was 4,237. This year it's 5,465.
Almost 25% increase, isn't it?
It is almost that. Yeah.
They're a good company. I
They're
don't think they're not going to be swindling, so I.
They are a brilliant company, and in fact, if I look at the other quotes, they are. I don't need to mention the company's names. $6,487, which is more expensive again. And the other one is 13,200. So on that, and on Claire's recommendation,
Yeah.
stick with total sound. So we'll take the vote again just to make sure everybody's happy. There we are. Brilliant.
Also, with a lot of these, I think trying to get somebody else at this late stage may be difficult.
Not only that, but we've worked with these people.
Yeah.
They know us. They do us a really good service. They're good guys, and they know what they're doing. They do things like the big weekend party in the park, all these sort of stuff, all the big things. So the next thing is commercial marquees, or the marquees then, which I have, yeah. So last year, they charged £2,603. And this year, it looks like it's £2,270 plus VAT of 454. Silver's down. Oh, the server was down, emailing the quote soon, but Claire being away, we haven't got access to any of that. But they're great because, they're a local company,
Yeah.
and we've used them in the past. Another quote was 5,850, which is more again.
Yeah, I think we are.
Sorry, Jim, is it commercial marquees?
Commercial marquees.
And the quote for this year again, sorry?
The final quote is to be emailed over,
Okay.
but last year was 2,603.
Okay.
And that includes 10 tables and 30 chairs as well. So if we can go with vote for commercial marquees, brilliant. The next one is the loos. Is that it? Portaloos, here we are. Last year we had City Loo hire at £675. They've gone up considerably. Total hire £1,014, which is a steep
How many
increase.
did you have last year?
I can't remember exactly how many we had. We had quite a few, and we had the one behind the.
They didn't use that much, were they?
Oh, they are. They are. And there was one behind the beer tent as well for the staff to use, and the people working in the beer tent, so they didn't have to go right downfield
Yeah.
to all that. So this is 9 single portable toilet units at a fixed rate of £50 each. No disabled one disabled toilet, wheelchair access only, with a baby changer, and that's £65. Service of all 10 toilets at £25 per toilet. Delivery is £40 and collection is £40. So, basically, highest cost excluding VAT, and don't forget we don't pay VAT, is £845. So maybe that's not such a bad increase. I don't know here if what Claire's got is what we paid or with the VAT as well, because she hasn't put that on the report. So I can assume that's probably what we paid once we claimed the VAT back last year.
I leave it a bit loose in the recommendation,
Yeah.
pending
But
confirmation of price.
yes, you can.
So how much was it last year, Chair? The amount?
675. We've had another quote from Euroloo, 1,290. So, and there is another quote as well. But I'm happy if Claire's happy and Paul is happy, the two of them happy to go with City Loo again.
In all three cases, we've had 2 quotes of each for each, which have been in excess of that, haven't we?
Oh yeah, exactly, absolutely. So next thing is the Brandon hire, which are the barriers. So I'll just look for that one. Security. I can't find it at the moment, so I'll come on to security instead. Silurian. St John's Ambulance, first of all. 650 they want to charge. They're penciled in, but we need to book them. So I think we've got to have St John's there. So I think that's just going to be going. All happy to put that straight over to Claire. Right, Silurian Security. Last year it was 3,178, and this year they put up their prices for how much they're paying their staff. So an SIA door supervisor, licensed officer, is now £18.20 per officer per hour. And a licensed officer overnight is now £16.06 per officer overnight. And stewards are £15.63 per steward per hour. All costs are subject to VAT, invoices and payable. Well, we do that. So, who's that one? That is. There is another one which is slightly cheaper. And there's another one from another company which is slightly more. Can I recommend with that, because I don't feel qualified to make this decision, that we give the authorization to Claire, depending on Kerry and Paul being happy with that. So they can sort it out between the three of them for that.
This isn't the highest court or the lowest, middle of the road, but we've used this firm before.
We've used them before.
We know they're good.
We know they're good, absolutely. We've never had any trouble. They've stopped trouble.
And those wages, you can't call them extortion, can you?
They're not extortionate when you think what you pay certain people to do jobs for and how much they charge.
So, can you spell it? Is it Silurian? Is
Yes, SIL URIAN.
Oh, thanks.
It's like the tribe of Britons that used to live here.
Yes.
So that's that one. Just going back to Brandon Hire for the barriers, was there a
Yes.
quote for that at all?
We've got a quote for that of £1,590.
And that's, we haven't had a vote on that yet. So
No,
we'll leave that one as well.
we leave that one for them. Next one, we've got the cleansing, which we've got to pay for, which is £450 plus £187 per tonne of tipping that they have to do after.
So which company is this?
This is City and County.
Oh, City and
County
County.
cleansing.
City and County. 450, do you say? Sorry.
450 plus £187.82 for the tipping of any waste. That's per tonne. So we'll be under a tonne, but so we've got to pay for a tonne. Next one is the picnic benches. Now, where's that gone? Gower events, equipment picnic benches. £900 last year, £1,440 this year.
How much?
1,440.
How many?
We had them all over the place last year. They were all over the field.
Mhm.
That's got to be a lot.
It has gone up a lot. Event coach hire. First page, 200, 300, 1,500, 1,800 from another one. And maybe we only could get 2 quotes on that one. I mean, we tried to get 3 quotes. We've got to be seen to be getting to looking for 3 quotes, but maybe only 2 people were prepared to give us a quote. So it's quite a bit of a increase. What happened, Ian? I'll ask you. Do you know about the picnic benches that were down at Southend Gardens?
It's still being resolved.
Because somebody was taking some away yesterday, apparently.
Yeah, it was mentioned at which meeting was it mentioned? It was community and social on Monday, but it's still being resolved with Kerry at the moment.
Right,
So I don't think we'd have any access to them.
right. And the other thing is, you know, even if we are able to move them, we've got to move them, physically move them,
Yeah.
which is going to cost.
What supplies do you have? If you put that out to tender yet for the drinks, because I know that Gower Brewery will bring their own and they put them along the whole field.
We haven't done the tender. I've asked Paul about the tender,
I'm
but
just thinking, save a little bit of £1.50 if they want to.
but the thing is, you see, I mean, the tender is not about bringing picnic benches. It's about how much you're going to pay us and how much are you going to charge for drinks. That's what the tender comes down to for the bars. So that hasn't gone out yet. Paul has been asked about it, but we haven't heard anything yet. Maybe he's waiting for Claire to get back. Are Gower Brewery interested, are they?
I'm sure they would be.
No, they haven't.
You know, I mean, the other ones at the castle.
Oh, we don't do those, so
No,
that's.
I know, but they'd be interested.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to depend on how much they're going to pay us and how much they're going to pay a pint, because the sort of rationale behind the drinks is we want everybody to be able to get there and have a skin.
I know, I'd worked with them and it was all the suppliers said out, it was reasonable amount.
Yeah.
So I know that they wouldn't be, but I don't know them personally, but you know, I know they wouldn't be.
They'll have to tender like everybody else. You know, it will be open, it'll be a proper notice going out, so it won't be just who do you want to do it, let's invite them. It will be a proper notice going out by Paul, which will go on our website and on our social media as well. And a notice outside saying people who want to tender for a can.
Yeah.
Make a few barrels for homebrew.
Hey, I got homemade wine and gin. So in-house entertainment,
So Joe, what's the company for picnic benches?
that was, where was it? I think I just put it there. Yes, Chris Mabbott, Gower Events and Equipment Hire.
General?
Events and Equipment Hire.
Right. Are we voting for that one as well?
Well, these won't be going to full council because we've got delegated powers.
Oh.
So it's just for us to decide on which ones we're having. What I would say is because the costs have gone up a lot this year, and we are charging more for tickets than we charged last year. So what we'll probably have to do is take out of our profits to pay for some of this.
How much are you going to charge for tickets?
7, 5 and 2 from 5, 4 and 1, which is still a bargain. But I think Paul worked it out and he said based on past numbers it could give us almost double the amount we've made or the profit we've made from before. So if we have to do, I know it's gone up from last year because we always budget 10% more for Mumblesfest, but some of these things are more than 10% increases. And what we don't want to do is skimp on anything. I mean, you don't want to skimp on the kids' entertainment because it's popular with the parents, it's popular with the kids. And at the end of the day, out of the budget we have to put on Mumblesfest, we spend hardly anything on the actual acts. Which is wrong when we're asking musicians to do things just because they like playing music and not pay them properly. That's my view anyway. Anyway, inflatables. The in-house entertainments provide the bouncy castles. They man them for us as well. Last year it was 1,135. And this year, seems to be less, 1,020.
Don't knock it.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that's including VAT. So they're available. We need to get onto them because otherwise they'll be booked up with summer events somewhere else.
Can you vote for it?
Hey,
Can you vote for them?
let's vote for it. Everyone happy? Brilliant. Organised Chaos, the circus, were last year 600. I know Angela is asking Gizmo, who we had doing the circus at the Newton Fun Day, if he would be, how much he would charge, and also if he would be prepared to do the kids disco to start off the actual event as well. So, but that will come into when we go into closed thing about the artists and stuff like that, because I just forgot we're still recording and it's not about that yet. But so yes, there is an option. We don't have to make a decision on that yet because we've got to get a final vote for Gizmo, which Ange is coming from. Photographer. Sorry, our health and safety officer, Nigel Jones, who's the ex-head of special events from Swansea City Council, is £700. He's available. Do we
need it?
Yeah, we do. Absolutely, we do. We've got to have health and safety.
£700 for health and safety.
No, but that's not just there for the day. That's writing the whole health and safety report and everything. We do need it. We've got to have health and safety. We cannot cut corners. Other people who put on events might be able to come cut corners a bit, but because we're a public body, we cannot cut. We've got to do everything by the book, like that. So are we?
That's a lot of money, though, doesn't it?
It is a lot of money, but I mean, you know, he does all the paperwork for us as well as write the reports, and he's there on the day for the whole day.
Did he do it last year?
Yes, he did it last year.
Because if he did it last year, a lot of the work's already done.
Yeah, well, maybe that's what he charged last year. Maybe he's cheaper this year. I don't know.
Okay.
But that's what I've got on the list here from Claire. He's available. We need to have somebody. Photographer, 320 for the day. That's for Graham. That seems quite a lot to me for a photographer for one day. I wonder if we can bounce that back and see if we can get somebody cheaper, because we had Lloyd Stranahan 1 year as well, and I think he charged 150.
You could probably get someone for cheaper, but
Yeah,
Do we need a photographer?
yeah. You need somebody to capture the day.
I think so for advertising.
Advertising, absolutely, absolutely. Social media posts.
I know someone who might be good for that. He'd probably do a video as well at the same time.
Right, that'd be perfect to have video. If you can send that over to Claire,
Mhm.
and then she can do all that investigation stuff. And the host is booked because we decided on that last year. I'm not going to mention now who it is in an open session, because that'll be part of the drip feeding nearer to the date. But the host has been booked. So food traders agreed. Nellie's Fish and Chips have agreed to do it.
How are these if it's going out for tender?
They're not going out for tender.
We're not paying them to get them.
No, they pay us to trade there.
Oh, right. Okay. So why is food different than drink?
Why is food different than drink? Because it just is, I suppose. I don't actually know.
Yeah, we should. Surely they should.
They all pay. Yeah, the drink people pay as well.
Yeah, I just don't understand why they don't have the same process of coming in.
Because what we've tried to do is book food that people are going to want to eat, basically. They have a set amount, which Paul Biden set of how much they pay, and they all pay the same for trading there. And based on people we've had in the past who've just gone down really well.
Okay.
So, I mean, I see your point, but I sort of.
Do we have a lot of people asking to come in to do it though?
We have a lot of people, and we have a lot of people who are providing a service which isn't really required up there. So what we're trying to do is keep people happy, so there's food all day. They have conditions they've got to meet, the health and safety, they've got to follow all the rules. These are people who will give their stuff in time. We won't have to chase to get documentation off them. So I can give you what we had last year. So we know we had Gower Fresh Dough Company, the pizza place. Nelly's Fish and Chips were already booked for this year. Mumbles Coffee, Tucker's down the road doing the barbecue, West Wales Chop Shop, Gogi's Cuisine, the Indian, and an ice cream vendor. We did have Gower ice cream once. They couldn't do it last year. I don't believe they did it last year. We did have an ice cream van, I think, last year. It was Mr. Whippy, who's local as well, and he was on Family Fun Days.
So what's the Indian, Rob? The Indian?
Gogi, Goggi.
Oh.
It's lovely food. Really good food.
And West Wales, what was that one, sorry?
Chop Shop.
Chop Shop. Okay.
Be careful how you say it. Okay, so that's the update on the booking recommendations from Claire. So based on that, and based on Paul and or Kerry being okay.
Just this is going to bug me on the food vendors. I know we're looking for particular ones. I do think as a council we should make sure that there's something where if you do want to apply to be a vendor, food vendor up there, you have the opportunity.
I think people do, because we have people writing into us all the time and saying, have you got a pitch we can have? We'd like to do it and all this.
So who's making the decision on who is doing it and who's not? I just don't understand why it's different, because you can make a lot of money from food and you can make a lot of money from drink, but they seem to be separate.
Well, one of the things is space up there. We've
Yeah.
only got a certain amount of space for vendors. And for the size of the what they operate out of, most of them are behind tables, apart from is it a pizza bus?
Yeah,
I think it's the Gowerdo is a pizza bus, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
And this is just a small van. Yeah. I can't answer that question for you. I'm sorry. I should be able to, as chair, be able to give you an answer for that. Can you, Rich? I mean, or Pip? Are you on mute, Pip?
Right. So what you're saying is the difference between the way we get a tender from drink people to food people.
Mhm.
And what is the difference? Sorry.
So for a drink that you put out a tender for it, don't you? And then people apply, and then you go through them all. And do you? I don't know.
Yeah.
But then food, we seem to have a list of food vendors, but I know a lot of food suppliers. I know a lot of food vendors, and I don't think anyone really knew that they were able to apply for it. And I'm just wondering why the two are different.
I think it's a good point. I think historically, if you remember, Rob, when we first started, the drinks, we had a hell of a job getting up both the drink people. We got Richard in the end from the park, didn't we? Was it Kevin from the park? And we couldn't get food people. And I think that the second year we realised there was an opportunity to earn money in the drinks, but we were still struggling to get food people. Then it took off in year 3. Which I think is a good point now, because I think the food people are suddenly making money out of us, whereas before, that if you remember, Rob, they were just scratching a living out of it. So I think it's a very good point actually that they should be treated the same, really.
Yeah.
That's the history of it. Was, if you remember, we couldn't get people to there.
And now it's so popular, and people, I can see the appeal for everyone. And it's not that I don't have a problem with anyone who's on there. I just think the opportunity for everyone, if they wanted to.
Yeah. I mean, what we say with the bartenders is they've got to be local, not part of a big brewery, as in a chain.
Like Coors or...
Yeah, or White Rose, because that's part of whatever brewery it is. So we're trying to support our independent locals as much as possible, isn't it, Pep?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and it was just a different ballgame, and I think it's just evolved into this now. Whereas we suddenly realise in year 3, Christ, the people selling the booze are making a lot of money out of this. But of course, so are the food people now. It's really hard getting food people to start with, to just even want to be there. But of course, all of a sudden we get 3,000 people in year 3 or 4. It's a different ballgame now, isn't it? You know. So I think the food is, it's a good idea personally to have the food on the same platform as the alcohol.
I think for this year, maybe because of the time.
So time, it's, you know, we don't have the right.
Noted for next year.
Yeah.
Like,
No, that's,
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. I think that's a fair point. As long as we put conditions on it, like they've got to have a local
Of
connection.
course, yeah.
Because we're supporting local businesses and local people who may have a business somewhere else but live locally. They're still a resident, and an MCC, either their business or they reside within MCC boundaries. Okay, thanks for that, Pip.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good point.
Okay, so just for those recommendations to go over to Claire with the approval of either Paul or Kerry on the ones we're not clear with. Is that okay?
Just to be clear, all these we're approving, we don't need any of these to go to full council, is that
We
correct?
don't need to go to full council at all, because we've got delegated powers to do this. Otherwise, it's just why are we having this meeting?
Yeah.
Just make it.
We're doing it right.
Exactly. Okay, so we'll take the vote on that officially. All those in favour? Brilliant, thank you. Right, the next thing is excluding the press and public. Not that there's anybody here, but it means we stop recording, doesn't it, Ian? So we vote on that, that we stop recording. Right, thank you very much. Can we stop recording, please, Ian? Okay.